Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee to order. And gentlemen, Ms. Short has been working really hard on these minutes. You can tell we have 3 sets of minutes to approve: May 16, May 17, and May 18th meeting.
Motion to approve all 3.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Additions or corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. I will ask Director Gill and Mr. Sandvig to join us at the table, and we will be working on the school's budget. And of course, we were in attendance at the joint meeting of the school board and the health and ed last week. So I am assuming that you will work from the summary sheet that you gave us last week. Gentlemen, do we all have our copies? If not, I think Mr. Sandvig has extras.
Madam Chair, could I ask if we could do something? I don't know, and maybe it's just me, but every time we start on the general purpose school budget, and we work through that, and when we get through with it, no matter even if it's easy or anything, and I'm sorry, but to me it's a big letdown for the last 3 that, you know, I don't know if I'm really paying attention to them or is there any chance of taking those 3 first and do the big one last? So when we finish the big one, we're through with the school board's budget?
Okay.
If I might say one before you guys make a decision, we've got a school board meeting right after this.
Okay. All right, well then let's keep it like it is then,
Okay.
because we want to get that one out of the way, right?
Actually, we're excited. This is the first time we've ever been first.
Okay, so we'll just begin with Director Gill and Mr. Sandvig. However you all want to tag team will be fine.
As Commissioner Ely said, Chairwoman Ely, we presented this at the Joint Health Ed budget meeting, and I recall most of you being there, if not all of you. And you know, I may give you a condensed version of what we presented then, and then entertain any questions you have. What we're proposing this year is that our budget be increased by $9,835,329 to $266,883,810. Last year's was $257,048,481. That $9,835,000 is a 3.8% increase over last year. And as you recall, at the last meeting, I told you a big portion of that's coming from the governor's proposal that we give all certified employees a 1.6% raise. And the board has always taken a position when certified gets it, the classified gets it as well. So that chews up almost $3 million. Also, as we said last time, we're absorbing into local money several positions that we funded out of Race to the Top money or ERA money, and to the tune of, another $1,066,431, so that's about $4 million of it. We built our budget based on 2.5% growth, which is about what we've experienced the last 2 or 3 years. So that chews up the rest of it. The only additional services that, and not services, the biggest chunk of money beyond that would be for $500,000 we're putting into technology to do upgrades. A lot of our equipment's getting older and slowing down and won't run the software that we have. Beyond that, it's just basically offering the same services that we've had in the past. I also reminded you folks last time that a big part, given legislative changes, we're now required to observe more teachers. That brought on the need for 5 additional retirees to evaluate. Also, we budgeted money for either iPods or Kindles or something to assist those folks in their evaluation. So they want another big chunk of that money. And it kind of saddens me that we're not able to put it all right back in the classroom. But the fact is we're not able to do that. But anyway, our revenue source is, this year was $250,499,682. and we funded an additional $6.3 million from fund balance, and there was an additional new amendment. What our proposal is this year is that our local and state money should equal $260,423,271 for that tax increase. We would fund the balance of that out of fund balance to the tune of $6,460,539. That money far exceeds the 3% we're required to keep at state level. After we do that, after we put that $6.4 million towards this year's budget, we'll still have 3 3/4% in fund balance, which means we'll be okay. So you'll know the reason fund balance is so healthy. We had an increase in estimation in the local sales tax, property tax, and also BEP growth money exceeded what we thought. So that was obviously a good thing. As I explained a second ago, almost $3 million of that increase in this year's budget will go towards teacher and classified salaries, plus the related benefits that go with that. The next 4 pages reflect other actions we'll take as part of the budget. You know, I think we all know we're expanding Central from the 10th to 11th grade. We anticipated that happening, and also that's a sizable cost to the system. Everything in blue you see on page 2 are positions that we have to assume in local money. Also, there's some minimal growth positions for special ed, CDC, behavior growth spectrum, etc. A couple of school colleges positions we're inheriting. Anytime we're always adding buses every year. It'll vary from 5 to 10 according to the number of students we estimate. I think this year we put how much in, Jeff? 5 positions? I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
We're about 9 buses this
Okay.
year.
All right. But again, you can reflect on that item, and I gave it to you. I think you got it last time, and if there are questions, we'll entertain them at this time.
Back to the part that's in the blue on your second pages or whatever, those were funded last year with state dollars.
Last 2 years.
Last 2 years.
2 years ago was federal.
And so
dollars.
we're picking those up this time.
They were
We are,
ARRA.
and we knew when we got that ARRA money that we would, it would dry up in 2 years. Also, we had to have these positions then, but we thought, and we intentionally tried not to hire too many people out of ARRA money because we knew it was going to dry up, but we also knew that we had to have these as part of our growth and part of our responsibilities to the kids. So we paid them for 2 years, and now we've got to assume those responsibilities.
What's a compliance liaison? What is that, keeping the numbers straight with this?
I'm going to let you explain it. I think
It involves working with the principal, parents perhaps, the teachers, making sure that what is required by the child's IEP is being done at the school. We've got a couple of those.
anybody
And so
with
they rove to
Right.
different schools,
Go to
making sure
different
everything
schools.
is correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
two or three things. An IEP, and I think everybody knows what that is, individualized education program. Anybody that has a disability or any spectrum kid, you do an IEP on them, and we're required to make sure that that IEP is followed. The consequences can be pretty substantial if you don't. So they're keeping us in compliance.
Sitting the person to help the graduation rate with,
No.
that's a different
That
deal
was
there.
graduation coaches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a couple of questions. The 3 special ed teachers you got on here that were at Brown's Chapel. Okay. Why is it at an elementary school? Is there normally, is 3 a standard amount?
Nope.
3,
4, yes, sir.
And I got to get you to explain the mandated, vocational teachers, CTE teachers, that, and maybe I ought to just say what I thought the answer was, and then you correct me.
Okay.
But I think we're up to 22 credit hours to graduate in high school now.
23.
Right,
system
23.
requires, yes.
Okay. So thus, you got to have different courses. So you're going to have an English teacher is not going to teach you how to marketing or something like that, for example. So that's where, did the state mandate that a lot of these go into vocational? And why I'm asking that is I hear Metro, I've been told by people up there, they're doing an awful lot of that stuff. And, or did they just say, hey, you got to have 23 credits, you find what you're going to implement to get those, to allow those students to have 23 credits?
Right. Of course, you have your English, your science, your math, those studies, but kids have to choose, you know, if they choose a pathway, CTE, Career Technical Education pathway, and they have to have 4 credits within that pathway. So if you ever start first year or something, you pretty much have to have a second year and a third year and a fourth year to be in compliant with what the state requires. So that's partly what led to the increase in that program. Also, it's becoming more and more of a popular program. You know, you've got programs like culinary arts, criminal justice, virtual enterprise. It's not like the old days when it was solely woodworking and machine shop and general building trade. So there's a real interest in being in those kind of courses. Plus, we've had good success at that. The graduation rate of those kids that enter those classes is incredible. Almost 100% of them make it through school. On the flip side, it's limited to about 20 per class, much like the elementary K through 3 ratio. So it does require more teachers. But we're just basically, you know, we're dealing with states mandated without really adequate funding for it from the state.
Thank you.
A lot of these kids are coming out of high school able to have a career, because it costs more to go to colleges than it used to. It's harder to get into colleges than it used to be, and a lot of these kids can't afford, or due to circumstances aren't going to make it to college, and they can have a head start on making a living already.
Are your teacher evaluators, they're part-time?
They are.
Okay.
They don't get, are we paying them any benefits? We pay a little.
If they are under if they have not started drawing Social Security, we'd pay Social Security and Medicare, otherwise just Medicare, no retirement, no insurance benefits.
And are these all going to be former Rutherford County teachers, or are they going to be whoever applies for?
Actually, I want to say 4 out of the 5 are all 5 are. We interviewed it. It was crucial that we got good people. I mean, I say good people in that position that could help improve teacher instruction, people that understood how to evaluate what it was all about. And I was surprised we didn't have a bigger pool of candidates, although we think we got some outstanding, but I do think there might be one that's out of the system.
You make up your proposed gap between expenditures and revenue with funds from the fund balance,
Yes, sir.
$6.4 million. How much is typically left unspent that goes into the fund balance in a typical year?
There's a band, but 1.5%, 1.25% to 2%. We cannot, on the 31 pages of detail, well, 30 pages of detail, we have to stay within each major function's budget and each labor line's budget. So we wind up with monies. I think one year we had 0.9% drop. We were rating everything we could rate that year. Typically 1.25% to 2%.
Let me,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm not an accountant, and Jeff gives you an accountant's answer, and I'll give you just an ordinary guy's answer. You know, it varies from year to year. You know, it's dependent upon, you know, increased revenues. Also, one of the best things I think we ever did was 3 or 4 years ago, Dr. Bullitt and Mayor Burgess supported, all you guys did, gave us 5 cents on the tax rate. I say gave us. We got the BEP 2.0 money. We put a nickel on the tax rate towards capital improvements, which is the equivalent of $2.5 million. That's money that we had been spending out of fund balance. We also bought land out of fund balance. We've helped open schools out of fund balance. So it greatly varies from year to year with respect to how much we have. And I know it's you know, I don't want anybody to be skeptical because we had a banner year in fund balance and think, hey, we're overfunding these guys, because that's not the case. And almost every time, and we've already committed to putting fund balance towards the opening of Stewart Creek as well. You know, anytime we have a healthy fund balance, we turn around and put it back into certain big-time projects anyway.
Sure. What is the fund balance roughly right now? Or what will it be after we take 6.3 million?
We've got that.
Oh, we have it right here.
And it's usually, as far as dollar-wise, shipping is about $2-3 million that you don't spend in your appropriation.
Typically, yes.
That's what this gets us to, doesn't it? About what's it get us to, 10 million? I don't have that
I was
sheet.
very comfortable
Yeah,
saying
10
3
million.
3/4.
Yeah.
And a 3% balance is 8 million, so
So we're about 2 over, yeah.
Have to.
How much do you think you'll need in the fund balance to open the new Stewart's Creek High School?
For the operating expenses, probably 3 to 4 million, but some of that would come from transferring positions. Where a high school is the least efficient one to transfer positions because you've got to maintain your course offerings, and you may not be transferring that many kids from a particular school to equal entire teachers.
It looks like after you take the 6.4 million from the proposed budget moving forward out of the fund balance, you'll have about 10 million left, which in theory,
2 more years.
which would in theory give you enough to open Stewart's Creek High School, but you've got to keep a certain amount of money in there, so you can't
3%.
take it down to zero.
Right.
Yeah, we can't dip below 3%, or we have to, file
Well,
at some point and justify why we dip below 3%.
yeah.
And that's based on your budget, right?
Yes.
Which goes up every year.
Lisa,
Yes.
do they have to
More students every
Yeah.
year.
tag or, you know, like we're doing in our budgetary process now about, you know, through the audit that we just changed about labeling those dollars? Do they not have to with the school?
Are you talking about the reserve?
Yes,
All those,
yes.
they're doing the same thing that we're doing.
Y'all
So
having
we
to start
still-
doing that this year then?
The same year that we did the unassigned.
Right,
Okay.
but that's what
So
ours
you're
will all
signing
be.
every dollar
Mhm.
to do something, project or coming up
And
project
then
or
what
something?
we've got, we're talking about the same thing in the schools, the school GPS is like our general fund. So they have unassigned fund balance. And
For
that
education.
fund and our fund are the only two funds that have unassigned fund balances. The rest of it is assigned to the functions, you know, to debt service, assigned to solid
Right,
waste,
right.
assigned to food service, assigned to capital projects.
I want to ask one more fund balance question. It looks like based on your projections, you're not going to have enough money to keep 3% in the fund for your requirements and take 6.4 million out. But I'm wondering if maybe there's one piece missing here, and that is, if you're correct that 2 to 3%, or maybe 1 to 3% would be the right band of your money is not spent, and it goes into the fund balance.
That's the other piece.
That's not in this sheet. So if it were 2% on a $266 million budget, then that, let's say it's $5 million. If that piece is missing, I'm asking if it's missing, but
Yes.
if it is missing, then I think you would have enough money to meet your 3% reserve requirement and open Stewart's
We
Creek
will
High
be
School.
watching the fund balance
Oh, next year.
very
Not
carefully.
this year, next year.
Yeah.
The 16.5 million has this year's estimate, is that correct?
The
Bill?
16
Yes.
is what we're estimating to end this
This
year.
year, this year.
And then,
right
you-
there.
and dropping
And you take
6.4
that
million,
out.
that
It
gets us down
always
to 10
comes in
and
a
a
little
half.
better.
I guess I'm
than that.
thinking 6.4 million comes out according to the proposed
This is
budget,
on the
but
bu-
then 1 to 3% of the budget is unspent and gets put back in from this coming year's budget. Let's say it's 2% of $266 million, that's around $5 million. Then once that money goes in, at the same time, we're proposing to spend 6.4 million, it doesn't change the balance that much. The balance goes down,
Yeah.
but not enough to meet the obligations we'd like to be able to meet when we open Stewart's Creek High School.
Yeah,
And
but
plus, we're
just-
looking at 2 more
Yeah, we're
years
2 years out, we
2 years out.
anticipate that fund balance will grow again, unless there's some slashing of funds, in which case, in which case we got to draw back and punt, I guess.
When I was asking about the missing piece, it looks like we're taking the 6.4 billion out, but we're not adding the 1 to 3% in that will be in there at the end of this
Okay,
coming
yeah,
year.
And I just had this conversation with Ms. Ely, and I don't know if MTSU budgets this way, but the state budgets reversions, and we don't.
Okay, to simplify this, a year ago, we were sitting
Right.
here,
The
very
same,
similar.
same, mhm.
What was our estimated ending fund balance for last year? Was it not in the $10 to $12 million
Yes,
range? And we've
we
come in
were
at
ending-
16. We're always come in
Back,
through, we get that
Don't
1
spend
quarter,
some,
2% to come
but
back, and we end up with
sales tax.
$2 to $4 million more.
Exactly, and I
But
think-
last year, if I remember right, that was somewhere in the $11 to $12 million range, and we've got 16.
Yeah, and that's a good way to explain it. Also, it seems like last year, didn't we use fund balance to open both the middle schools?
We did.
yes.
What was that, 3 million?
It was more 6 million.
It was
6
6
million,
million
okay.
this year.
Yeah.
And so, see, we've, once again, got a healthy fund
Well,
balance.
what helped us this year is that we budgeted sales tax flat,
Conservatively,
and it's
yes.
like 5%.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is you don't want to draft a budget based on this assumption that you're going to have an increase in the fund balance from unspent monies. And
I
even though
prefer to
that,
show worst-case scenario.
sure, I think
It's,
that's
you know, to me,
wise.
that's the conservative budgeting
But
process, is that we
especially
budget all the expenditures they expect to pay. I mean, we budget every position at 100%. Well, you know you're gonna not have
But
that.
in County General, Lisa's already made some estimate for the money we're not going to spend this year. That's in her budget. They've already made some estimate for the money they're not going to spend. That's in that 16.5 this year. They've already given us their best take on that.
And like Lisa, I give a conservative
He's given us a
estimate.
concern, but he's got it, he knows it's going to be at least 16.5 when you add in what we're not going to spend this year.
That suggests that we are budgeting.
We are budgeting, yes,
At the-
at a conservative way. They pretty sure we're gonna have more than that, but they put a number in there.
All the more reason to spend in Rutherford, right?
Exactly. But we're also replacing that $1 million out of debt service that we took out. And we're putting back into this year's budget, correct? Didn't,
We took money out of debt service to help fund the schools. Is that what you're talking about? In the current year?
In this current year.
yes.
We're not putting that back.
We're not gonna do
I
that.
thought what this is right here on this debt service, $1
No,
million.
no. What that is, you remember the light project?
Yes.
The lighting sensor?
Yeah.
The schools pay that debt back through their general fund, through their general purpose school. That's the only piece, that's what he.
Okay, I'd attached it there, but I didn't realize that was the light project though.
And the
Okay,
sensors.
Okay. So did you answer the mayor's question right at the end?
Well, they've answered it in that here's their best projection, so we're 2 years out, but, so we're just, we can't look that far ahead yet. But we have some reason to believe that we're gonna somehow build this fund balance up to something past the 3%. We don't have to keep using it for an operating purpose, and you'll have some of that to use for new operating seats, you might say.
Well, and.
He's got 2 years to work on that to try to get that 3.1.
That was one reason why I was asking, because, I mean, really, we didn't want to surprises in 2 years when we're getting ready to open up the high school. But then again, it looks like this game plan is a working game plan and not over the top, so to speak. And we're still not raising taxes, so.
And what he had said before is when the schools have built balances, then they would turn and use it for some capital, whether it be buying land for the next school or towards equipment.
And they're not having to do that now since you've got the 5 cent for the capital improvements.
Correct.
We were able to start with ending fund balance to be able to start on some work on when at the middle schools before we went through with the, something, something seemed like you were able to put the money, maybe site work or something up there.
Paid us back, I believe.
Yeah, that may have been what we did.
Mhm.
But previous to doing that 5 cents, those things that they are
Yes.
doing with that 5 cents, we borrowed for.
Yeah.
you know.
Or
You know,
using
we still got
savings.
some land in Rod Vale that we could eventually sell, that'll bring, now's not the best time to sell, but at some point, it'll bring a premium price, you know. What do we got out there, 90 acres left? 70
This is
acres?
the current year, if we're talking about.
I asked a question the other night on 1.6%
Yeah.
increase on staff. I had a few calls on that. Y'all have answered my question, but if you could tell me about that. I've had a few calls on it, and basically there's about 3 people that are getting reorganized in job duties as well as, I guess, a pay increase to get to where that job duty should be.
We've got,
And so that takes care of my question that I asked the other night at budgetary. But I wanted to mention that because I'm sure those folks are watching, but I was satisfied with that, so I didn't want to leave a question out that wasn't answered. And with that, Madam Chairman, I don't know if there's any more questions, but I'm going to make a motion that we approve the budget as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin,
Sure.
and seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion or questions for Director Gill or Mr. Sandvik?
Any more input on how these guys that are going to do the evaluations are going to handle that?
not yet, other than we start training next week. We've got the 5 positions filled. They'll be part of the training. You know, we're considering how we're going to divide them up. We've had discussions about putting the people whose strengths are in elementary, going for the elementary school, middle school going there, and we've also discussed the territorial, so to speak. So still a work in progress, but we're going to make it through it.
Mr. Gill, are we getting any assistance, any oversight, any broad perspective on assistance from the state of Tennessee? Is the State Department of Education helping us through this process of trying to move to this next level and the next level? Are they pretty much putting it on your responsibility?
You talk about with respect to tenure and evaluations.
All of this that you're having to work with.
Yeah, you know, and Don, Mr. Odom, and Ms. Barnes and I have all worked with them. You know, it's still a work in progress. I mean, I hate to say they're making up as they go along, but.
So we just really don't have a really thorough and comprehensive plan.
Is that a fair description?
You're going to be quoted on that, you know.
They crafted all
Really
these
humorous, too.
requirements and standards that should be
So
held
it's not
to.
really humorous either.
No. Yeah, but I mean, you know, matter of fact, we had a meeting with the commissioner last week, and he recognizes
I'm handing you my whole packet.
that they're putting a lot of burdens on school systems, and he also has offered any kind of help or training that we had. Like, for example, I don't know if I'd use this example or not. This is the week that we always start renewing principal contracts and setting expectations next year with respect to their goals and what we expect of them. And we're not able to do that because the state's changed the model for evaluating principals, so we got to hold off on that, other than saying, hey, you're hired back, you'll be the principal at Kittrell or Oakland or whatever. So they've really got us behind the 8 ball there. Also, the challenge that they've thrown at us with respect to evaluation. The new tenure law is going to be tough. We know that principals ultimately are going to be the final evaluator, you know, which puts enormous amount of pressure on them and on their plate. But they've given us, how do you say, we've got a lot of lip service from state, but not much help yet. But I think they're trying hard too. We've had a discussion, Mr. Odom, about we say that delayed it by 1 year and made sure they had it how it should be, but that's not the way they're working, so we'll do the best we can.
Is
You've
this,
given us 3 weeks, Mr. Gill, exclusive to Rutherford County for training with 3 different groups.
Yeah.
So they have done that.
Yeah, we have 3 separate trainings because we'll train as many as 130, 140 people to evaluate. So,
is this real similar to ARA when it first came out? No guidance?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there's 5 people. I mean, I'm assuming that probably next year that's going to work. Because, I mean, you take 120 days, 4 months for 5 people.
See how they do it?
I mean, I don't see how they're going to do it. I mean, they're going to have to get with it.
yeah.
And if it's what I'm thinking is much paperwork or not really, if it's on an iPad, maybe it's not paperwork anymore, but work that they have to do, worksheets or whatever, then I mean,
Mhm. Well, like you say, you got.
how much of, how good is the evaluation gonna be, you know?
Yeah, if it's not geared towards helping a teacher improve and really
Yeah,
kind of.
I'm really concerned with the end product. Is it gonna help, or is it gonna hurt, or is it
I
gonna
think it's gonna
hinder?
be pretty overwhelming. I mean, for
Yeah.
example, your typical high school will have 150 teachers. So if you've got 5 people evaluating them, that's, what is that, 30 per person, times 4 to 6 evaluations, 30 to each, that means they're gonna be doing 150, 160 observations during the course of the year, which is roughly 1 a day. You know, when you factor in, they gotta do cafeteria duty, they gotta do discipline, they gotta do textbook accounting, they gotta check on the bookstore, and I mean, it's just it's gonna be
Yeah.
a charge for those guys to handle.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Sandvik or Director Gill, the cafeteria fund?
All right. And this is one of those budgets, we still don't have our federal input. We will be amending it next year. With the reauthorization of the Nutrition Act, we're a little later than usual in getting anything we're basing our revenues on what they've run this year. We are looking at $14,881,100 in revenues next year. Our total expenses, $15,696,600, and using $815,500 from fund balance. In this fund, we have to keep our fund balance low. Not too low, but anything above a 3-month operating surplus is excess fund balance, and we are to use it to improve the program, equipment, improve food quality, whatever. And so that is our request.
Free and reduced is in this number, right?
Yes, it is. But we don't have what increase we will get.
I was pretty shocked in my area, a couple of schools, and then surrounding area too, of how high that number is. Are we in the ballpark? Are we, it all deals with jobs, unemployment rate, whatever, and all that sort of stuff, I guess, but I mean, can't do nothing about it, but I mean, it's just,
I think the
I thought it was
criteria
high
has
myself.
been raised so that it is easier to fall into that than it was.
I think more people are
7
taking
years ago.
advantage of it as
Yeah.
well. People may not have applied years ago.
Yeah.
Now are all applying, we're at 42%. In contrast, you got Williamson at 11, and, Metro even higher than us, but, yeah, we got a lot of poverty in the district.
And it's also, they moved to a 1 application per family, where it used to be per child, so you tend to have more of a drop-off, middle school, high school. But now, if that first or second grader, if the application is completed, and
it goes for the siblings wherever.
it goes for the siblings, wherever.
I see.
So that picked up some of our increase.
Like I said, there's nothing we can do about it, nor can we, but I mean, I just thought that number was high for our area, but,
Yeah.
okay.
But,
Madam Chairman, move to approve.
Central Cafeteria Fund?
Yes.
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Sandvik, Director Gill, Fund 177, the
Yes.
Capital Projects Fund.
At present, we are looking at $2,353,213 in revenues coming in from that. What is it, about 4.25 cents after the reappraisal? It starts out at 5. we will pay $47,000 in trustees' commission, with the balance $2,376,074. And we are asking to go into fund balance $69,851. It's that page, Commissioner.
Yes, I was looking
All
at
right,
the
yeah,
list.
Yeah, and Mr. Clardy, of course, on something like this, we're all working from estimates. We may not wind up needing that $69,000, but in order to balance the budget, the scope of the sewer plants at 2 of our schools, he's kind of shifted the way he's going to do those. We have to do some upgrades.
Are these
And
step systems or these,
it's the old systems at Kittrell and
that's right, y'all mentioned that.
Last Casas.
I think Las Casas. And Mr. Clardy is going to concentrate on Kittrell first. We've done the design this year, but then get the Kittrell one out. That next page back shows the specific projects with the estimates we're working from.
What was the cost on
$250,000 above the design fees, and I don't have those paying commission.
The reason I was asking, you got sewer right down there at, where that plane hit right there on John Bay.
You got sewer? I know you got water down through there.
How far is it?
That's
6 miles, so.
6 miles, a lot, Dick.
a lot away.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to do that. 6 million maybe.
Yeah.
So he's looking-
School or somewhere one of these days too.
So he's looking at upgrading the existing system, or he's
It's
putting a
being
new
required.
system?
Another of those little mandates we get.
And the Rockville Elementary here, you know, $700,000 there on roofing. This, well, the elementary's on the right-hand side, I guess, yeah, so.
The old one.
That's flat roof, isn't it?
Yes, sir. And
So-
what that was opened in the mid-90s.
No, so before that maybe.
So this is
93 or 4.
putting a new
One
flat roof on it.
Rockville,
so
Las
you may rent that
Casas.
thing.
Yes.
So 4 of them built at once, weren't there?
Yeah, Stuart Park came in about the mid-90s. Yeah, it's close to 20 years old.
It was about the time my daughter started school.
How is this fund shared with Murfreesboro?
It is
At the
the
beginning.
normal share, about
Okay, just
16.
Not when you spend it.
16%. Not,
No.
but yeah, as the taxes come in.
Okay.
Seemed like this
Time
the
is
other day.
away.
I still think of those new schools, they're 18 years old.
Yes.
And I think I asked this in the meeting the other night, the campus school that finishes this.
Finishes
Yes.
the project.
That's the, that's the.
I'm over motion approved.
Commissioner Jernigan,
I'll
thank you.
second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Pigg. Any further discussion? Excuse me, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Pease?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Gentlemen, do you have anything else?
No, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Gentlemen, we do have a deadline to get our budget ready for publication. And tonight, if we can review any budgets and make any necessary changes, I think we can get that accomplished tonight and not need to have our meeting on Thursday. Our finance director will update us on the changes that needs to be made in the general fund. Have you already given those out? Okay.
Get in the book.
She's already given that to you. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was sitting on the top.
Handout.
Are we not going through, no, that's our regular meeting, we go through the amendments that they did the other night, yeah.
That's it.
I brought it.
That's it.
I'll put a happy face on it.
Oh, thank you very much.
Better get your meeting.
Okay, Mayor Rhodes.
We've got three budgets within the general fund to just touch on. Needs some changes in.
Okay, and the first two on that first page, county commission budget and county attorney budget. And this is stemming, because all of you know that Ms. Shelton has retired. And through the course of that retirement, we've had some discussions with Mr. Cope, and we think this is a win-win situation for us and for the Cope firm. The way we're structured right now, this one person that we're furnishing him, an administrative assistant, is a county employee. And his preference, and I think ours, would be that he would like for that person not to be a county employee, but to be for us to give him a fixed annual stipend. And you'll see under 51,400 for county attorney that these changes, if we do this, would reflect a reduction in the budget that we've already discussed and approved through here, $25,274. And that comes about, but first, because this person, the salary will be less than what Ms. Shelton was making, and secondly, there's no benefits for us to be paying here. So that nets us a reduction of $25,274. And further, since this discussion we've had, if you'll go back up to 51,100 and look at 399, other contracted service, we're proposing that we continue to use Ms. Shelton on a per diem basis of $500 a month to do the same thing she's been doing for us as far as the minutes and the resolutions and all of that. So we won't be losing her expertise, and we'll be netting a savings of $19,000 a year. So we recommend that you change the county commission budget by adding $6,000 and by reducing the county attorney budget by $25,274.
You're open for a motion on that?
Yes. Yes.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Commissioner P., seconded by Commissioner Schaefer.
And I will say, this requires one very small amendment to the county attorney's agreement that we have with him. So I have to take to steering a little First Amendment. This will basically say it's not a county employee. That's what we'll say, and we'll be putting in there the fixed number that we're going to pay this person, okay? Which is $37,150
$450.
or $450. $450, yeah, it's right down there under $399. So.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
This
And the Health Department?
The second one is a change of $245 for travel. Ms. Garrett received $245 as a contribution to send somebody for training, which there's no way she can do it by the end of this year. She just requests to put it into next year's budget.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan.
I was thinking about something else, I'm sorry, I didn't even hear, what? I'm sorry.
Dana Garrett received $245 for
The health
training
department.
as a contribution.
okay.
She just wants to, can't use it this year.
Okay, gotcha. I was over in another zone, so. I was
Any
thinking-
further
Think about
discussion?
dinner, we're.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Okay, and if you'll flip one more page, gentlemen.
And this is just a summary of what all we've done from when the mayor made his recommendation to all the adjustments that we've made through the course of the individuals coming before you.
Back over on the first page on 399 that we just talked about, is that with benefits and everything too? Because this is strictly a contract, so it'd just be a part-time per.
Well, no,
Per
that's-
diem, that's it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
first thing you said was
You were in another zone then too, weren't you?
I was just rewinding, making sure,
Okay. So anyway, that's, I just give that for your information. So I guess, after all is said and done, revenues is $67,885,752, and after these two adjustments you made tonight, appropriations of $71,920,285, with us using $4 million of fund balance.
Yeah, you're right.
Do we need a motion on that, even, because we've already, we did each
We're
one?
doing the total.
Do you think on
Good
the
on
totals
total.
we should? Okay.
That's what we're gonna publish.
Okay, if you'll look at that summary, because this will be part of the published proposed budget, so Ms. Short feels like we should have a motion on this. So if you'll take a look at the final numbers, that's what we need in our motion, please.
Well, I've got a question before we get that far. You know, we're looking at these changes. The other day, public safety, you know, there was an approval for the COPS grants, which would make a difference.
Only, we don't budget until we accept.
Right.
We don't budget anything on the,
Well, I just want these guys to be aware that if that came through and then we in fact approved them hiring officers, that would change his budget.
and you're right, because that went before public safety, but it has not come before this
Right, and
committee
when I
yet.
didn't see it on here, I
Right.
thought you'd be mentioning it, so.
It's a good thing. You mentioned it.
And in this next fiscal year, if they actually receive that grant, the actual cost that we would incur would be those capital costs,
capital costs.
the fixed cost. The
About
reoccurring
4
cost would be.
Yeah.
after
4 years.
4 years.
Close to $500,000.
It could be if you fully funded, yes, right.
Can I ask you a question on this last page then, under expenditures on the election commission? Add back the position
That
and then
was,
reduce
we reduced other expenses. That's,
other expenses. What's that,
We-
44,000?
that was the total of, we initially had a position out. And so then we brought back and put the position back in. We reduced the amount of rentals because of the timing of election.
Fewer machines we're not going to have as
There's
many
a position
rental.
that's gonna be out for a year, but then they're coming back.
No, the position
It
came
never
back
was
in.
out.
Oh,
It was in there already, it's in this budget. We were
Okay.
proposing initially to not renew that, but then we put it back, just like it is now. And reduce the number of machines that's going to be required to hold elections to rent.
Right, and then there's a revenue item that, part of that reduced the revenue of $38,000.
Yeah, that offsets the rental, because we were going to get reimbursed for that.
okay, what's the building codes correction? 43,000.
Oh, that was the gremlin. That was the,
Was something that should
that was
have been
the,
there.
that was some equipment items that got in there that should not have, so we reduced that out. We took them out.
That was just
We mentioned that the other night.
Yeah, all of these, you've
already looked
you've
at all
approved
these, yeah.
every one of
that
these.
that was just a clerical oversight that had to be corrected.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, this
I
isn't
think there
any
was a car in
changes, this
there.
is just a summary of
Should've
what
been
we've done the
cars.
last few
What we've
weeks.
already did.
Okay, and then the changes we just did is back in there. Okay.
Okay, Chair will entertain a motion on that final number.
Motion approved.
Commissioner Jordan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond,
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes.
And then this ending page is just all the budgets.
And that is just for information. Mayor Burgess, anything else we need to discuss on this proposed budget draft?
No, I will. Larry McElroy, who most of you know, father was on the commission in 1956 and 57.
We knew him very well.
And you did?
Yeah.
And anyway, he found in his father's papers, et cetera, he found the public notice. It was a big page, it was a 2-page spread in the newspaper, I'm sure. The total budget in that year for 1956 and 57 was $1.9 million. I just thought you'd be interested in that. And
For the whole county?
For the whole school board was 1.2 million of that 1.9. And the total salaries for county general was $40,000. And the superintendent of schools made $5,835.
Oh, wow.
Tell you how many few people you had in the county that year, though.
But anyway, that's really amazing.
What really
That
is
is.
scary to me is, when you backed up in the 90s and said where you would be in 2010, 20, it's no, there's no way. And then see what they're gonna project in another 10 or 15 years.
Where we're gonna be in 20 years, yeah. Dealing with some real dollars, right?
Gentlemen, we do have one more decision to make. Our deadline to have the proposed budget draft published is upon us, and we need to make a decision as to what publication we want to use. I'll give you a little bit of history. The last 2 years, we have published our budget in the Murfreesboro Post. And the cost of that has been $1,680. This year, they have quoted a cost of $1,260. We have not published in the D&J since 2008. In 2008, that cost was $3,247. They have quoted a cost for this year, $3,326.40.
That's for how many days and how big an ad? For each of them?
It is a 1 day, and it usually is the 2 pages.
And the D&J will be one.
The D&J, 1 long page, and in the Murfreesboro Post, it's 2 pages, yes.
Have we ever received any complaints about the budget in the past from having it in the Post?
I haven't.
I haven't heard any, that's why I'm asking.
Make a motion to approve the Post to send them as we did the last 2 years.
Motion for the Post as we have in the past 2 years from Commissioner Jordan,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
No,
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
No.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Eagle.
Yes. Motion carries. Any other business that needs to come before our committee? Gentlemen, I will remind you, and we will make this as a public announcement to those watching on TV, we will not be meeting Thursday, June the 2nd. Okay?
Our next meeting then is a week from Thursday on the 9th, correct?
June the 9th, June the 9th.
That's what she was saying.
I must have been wherever you were a while ago then.
Gentlemen, we are adjourned. Thank you.